This is a short film clip from Colin Powell, one of our great heroes, and it's about leadership.
My name is Amy Wilkinson. I'm a White House Fellow. My question is how you would define the key characteristics of effective leadership that allow you to go and be an advocate for good.
Trust. The longer I have been in public service and the more people have asked me about leadership over the years, leadership ultimately comes down to creating conditions of trust within an organization. Good leaders are people who are trusted by followers. Leaders take organizations past the level that the science of management says is possible. One of my sergeants back in the infantry school at Fort Benning almost 50 years ago, which is where I learned everything I ever got to learn about leadership, was at the infantry school. And he said to me one day, he said, "Lieutenant, you'll know you're a good leader when people follow you, if only out of curiosity." I've never had a better definition, because what he was saying, and I've seen it experienced in my life so many times. What he was saying is they trust you, and you have built up that trust. How did you do it? Clear mission and statement, selfless service. People look to you and they trust you because you're serving selflessly as the leader, not self-serving, selflessly, and that you prepare the followers, you train them. You give them what they need to get the job done. Don't give them a job if you're not going to give them the resources, and that you're prepared to take the risks with them. And so they would teach us at the infantry school, no matter how cold it is, Lieutenant, you must never look cold. No matter hungry you all are, Lieutenant, you must never appear hungry. No matter how terrified you are, Lieutenant, you must never look terrified. Because if you are scared, terrified, hungry, and cold, they will be scared, terrified, hungry, and cold. I've gotten away with that many, many times in the course of my career by being scared to death, cold, and wanting to go to sleep. But no, let's go. Let's keep going. Let's go around this corner, if only out of curiosity. And they'll follow you into the darkest night, down the deepest valley, up the highest hill, if they trust you. So the essence of leadership is about doing all that the science of management says you can with resources, but then taking it that extra step and giving it that spark. And that spark comes from getting people to trust you so that they will follow you, if only out of curiosity. Thank you. Let's go around this corner, if only.
Okay, he is a good man. Let me see if is Rosa Cortez here? Omar Limon.
I'm here.
Okay, Omar. Wendy Morales. Okay.
Here.
Cindy Ramirez. Okay, I see you down in the bottom row in my my screen. And Ryan Tompkins. Yeah, up in the corner.
Hello, Bill.
I'm doing okay, Ryan. Moved out. You're up there all the way up in the right hand corner. And Bashua Vicencio. I think I got her name right, and then she's not here. Joseph Vides.
I'm here, Professor.
Okay, good. You look like you're cold.
Yeah, it is pretty cold here in my house right now.
Okay, I seem to be cold all the time anymore. And it's 48 degrees here. It's supposed to snow tomorrow.
Where do you live, Alaska?
No, just live up here in the mountains right above the campus. Just 30 minutes.
And it's supposed to snow tomorrow?
That's what they say. We'll check it out. It was they keep moving it around, you know. There's it's one of those things where they don't ever have to apologize when they're wrong.
Dang. That's crazy.
So it says it's 44 on my computer. It has a winter storm, an inch of snow. It's not that much if it actually happens. And 66% chance of something moist, whether it's water or snow, doesn't make any difference. We had a great snow about a month ago, but haven't had a drop of moisture since then. Okay, I'm a little bit out of sync, but I had not planned to have a group make a presentation today. Is that consistent with where you all are? We've done Team B. Okay, so we're up to Team C, and that's going to be next time. So we've got several little things coming up here. First of all, you've got your first decision in the second round. Now, I have not made any changes on team organization as of this point, but I know there's a couple teams that have 2 people. And I got a couple people that really are not spending much time on the game, and I'm not going to allow that to happen. I will call people out on that. And what I'm going to do is just check to see what the numbers show. Are you on the computer? And more specifically, are you looking at the reports that are out there? I was saying to one guy in the last class, he was just saying, well, you know, how do I know whether I'm doing enough or not? And I said, well, I can check and see. And he said, well, can I see it? I said, no, I don't think you can. But I said, when I look in there and see that people are not pulling down, not looking at any of the reports, it's like trying to drive a car with a blindfold on. Because you're not using any of the vast amount of information that's available to help you make a better decision each time. So it's important that you do that. Let's see, I'll give you another assignment here too. Next time we're going to be talking about core values. And all of you have core values, the moral value that when you sat on your grandmother's knee, she told you about how you should live your life. And a lot of them, a lot of you have adopted those. But you may have other things that are core values to you as well. These are the things that if I were to watch you for a period of time, I could tell what your values were because of how you lived your life. So what I want you to do is to put down 5 of those, and somehow I'm going to get out there a place where you can submit that as an assignment so I can give you some points for doing it. And it's what you perceive. I want you to think about it a little bit and just not jot down the first thing that comes to your mind. But put that down and submit that, and I can give you some credit for that. And also it'll put us in a position to really talk effectively about core values next time. And this is the beginning of where we're really going to come up the ramp and look at how strategy is put together. Now, I have given you some reading assignments as well. And this is heavy duty reading in the What is Strategy book. And I want you to read, I've given you reading previously up to page 21. I now want you to go all the way to page 29. And then I'm going to give you another assignment on that next week. But I also want you to read through page 62 in the Magretta book. That's a little heavier because I think I'd taken you to page 33 specifically. So I'll give you another 30 pages to read in there, and that'll be the basis for our discussions going forward. But tonight you got an assignment to
I have a quick question.
yes, Jessica.
On that assignment about the core values, are you going to put that on Blackboard exactly how you want it, how long, and
No,
what?
I just want those core value probably is a statement. Always approach problems with a desire to accomplish them with excellence. That could be a whole core value right there.
Okay, so you just want a statement.
Yeah, and what I want to give you some things that you can get graded on and get a positive grade. So it's either you submit it or you don't submit it. But I also want you to be thinking about what are the values that you hold? What are the things that are going to make you tick? What is going to make you effective as a team worker in the jobs you go into? How are you going to be able to relate to customers? How are you going to be able to relate to the community? Because many of you are going to have positions in companies where you have to have an ongoing relationship with the powers that be in the city where you're located. That help, Jessica?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So today we've got Lumiscape. And I chose this because it's something where there's a binary decision. There's a lot of uniqueness about the decision that has to be made, but it's essentially a binary thing. Either you go one direction or you go the other. But you got to have reasons to justify that. The other cases are going to get more convoluted. You're going to have to learn more. But I want to start off with something that's simple and also get you involved in being able to talk in this class. So I'd like to have somebody be willing to step up to the bar and talk about what they've seen in reading and studying that case.
Bill, can I start us off?
Is Gio?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, my biggest thing I was just a little confused on was they never proposed the the subscription plan to Houston, right? It was just kind of all up in the air.
Right. This never was a firm order. And, if you're dealing with the government, it's always elusive. And getting that guy to sign off at the last minute it'll give you ulcers.
Okay. So what I would probably do, I know there's probably no right or wrong answers,
Absolutely.
but I would
You're right on
probably,
that.
I would probably push for a subscription plan. I know I think it was $3 million was a big lump sum for them, right up front. But if they're gonna be pushing this as their strategic plan, I feel like it would be best to continue it going, or else it'll just come across as sloppy. That's just my opinion.
Okay. And I'd like to have you substitute one word in
Yes.
there. You said that you feel this way.
Oh no, I don't feel that way. That's what I was thinking. I'll just say it like that.
There you
No
go.
more feelings.
Yeah, frequently when I'm working in these kinds of situations, I say there's times when you use the word feel, but there's also times when you use the think or I'm convinced or I've been persuaded that. And
Yeah,
that
you're right.
gives you more force when you state an opinion.
You're right, Bill. I feel happy. That's what I think. I'm sorry.
Okay, good. Yeah. So that's one of my little, it isn't a pet peeve, but I think it does make it stronger. It gives conviction to what you're proposing. So because I was listening so close to the word feel, I didn't pick up which way you would go.
Sorry.
That's my
So
fault.
if no, it's okay. If I was in Cameron's position, I would probably choose to push the subscription plan onto Houston and then basically just talk about all the benefits that it has for them. And that way we could potentially work out a deal. That way we could keep them for long term rather than just that one buy right then and there. Because this was supposed to be a long-term investment plan. So it's going to make us a lot of money in the future rather than just right then and there.
Okay, that is always a strong position to be in because a stream of revenue protects you from ups and downs. It's a better planning vehicle if you can get something like that. And if you're just selling a product, a warranty to go with it, or some kind of a service contract, always improves your leverage. Now, how are you going to get past the buyer? Because in the case there, it said that it might be difficult, or he's already said, no, I don't want to, I just thought what I want to do is buy the stuff.
I like the idea of selling them the 5,000 lamps,
Mm-hmm.
also throwing in the subscription for free. Like making
And
yes.
I don't know how I managed to mess myself up here, but I've lost you all, but I'll be back. Here we go. So you would do a discount on the subscription in order to get the sale.
Yes.
And when you appeared before your board of directors, how would you justify that? Because your board of directors are going to ask, whatever you pick, they're going to ask you the opposite question. You can say, I'm going to sell it. They're going to say, well, why did you spend all this time trying to put together a strategy and now you don't follow it?
Well, I feel in order not to lose them because
You
they
said what?
in order not to lose our customer from in the past, I like the idea of grandfathering them into selling them the light post, but also in order to keep them as a long-term customer, I would throw in the free subscription.
Okay. And when you started your conversation at first, did you say you felt?
No, I'm persuaded.
You were persuaded. You were
Yes.
persuaded, huh?
Yes, I was persuaded.
Okay. So you would do a kind of, it's really kind of a hybrid.
Yes, but just for them because we had them in the past. It's not like they're a new customer.
Okay. Well, this is now how about somebody taking the opposite opinion? Don't speak all at once.
Would the opposite be just selling them the light posts without the subscription model?
Yeah.
Well, in the article it says, or there's a quote that says, never let your strategy get in the way of making money." So I think I forgot the guy's name, but he was the one that initially just got the sale. So I think, or I understand that it's going to be in this case. I personally don't like subscription models. I'd rather stick with products, but in this case, the city could feel that they don't want to do the work, whereas if they had the subscription model, they would actually be able to have the company install the lights for them.
Okay. And if you take the position that you only like to sell it, you want to make sure as a strong leader that you continually project that position so that no one has any doubt about where you stand. And it's a perfectly valid position to take. I think both of them are perfectly valid positions to take. So you would sell. What would that do to your strategy?
Well, it would kind of turn it on its head because the whole company was going out of that. They all decided to go subscription based, but in this case, it's a client that you were about to get in the past, and getting them to just make the sale, I think, would be better than them possibly just not wanting to do the sale again because of the subscription model.
Okay. The one of the I don't know where I would fall on this, Andre. I might go either way. But I think in a normal situation, we would look to the leader to say, look, we have this strategy and we're going to stick with it. And in fact, Andres, when I was much younger, you ever see the movie The Aviator with Leonardo DiCaprio? It's been the last 3 or 4 years that it came out.
No, I haven't seen it.
Huh?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, it's about Howard Hughes. You ever heard of Howard Hughes? He is an extreme eccentric. He was the one who built the first wired bra for Rita Hayworth. He owned TWA Airlines, which you probably never heard of either because it's been gone long enough. And it owned, I think he owned MGM, but he also had a company called Hughes Aircraft. It was a major aerospace company. Very eccentric guy. He was completely deranged by the time he died. But he had one company called Hughes Aircraft. And when I first came to California, I had a job with a company that was trying to sell a software product to them. And what they were doing was converting their computer system from a General Electric, excuse me, who had a very large system available at that time. They were selling the product. And IBM had displaced them. And now they had a problem that you're going to learn more about in the next couple of weeks. The cost of the barriers to entry. Because in order to put in that equipment, which must have been a better buy or had been well promoted to them, they had to make all the changes in their software. And that's a huge operation. And in those days, even the large computers didn't have a whole lot of memory they could use. And so what they had to do was use subroutines all the time. So they would do an instruction in the computer and then put that set of code out in a disk drive someplace and grab another subroutine and then execute that subroutine, put it out and grab another one. So it's highly inefficient. But also it was done with the set of coding that General Electric had, which was different than the coding that IBM had. So what we were doing was to try and write a software program that would automatically translate the GE subroutine into an IBM subroutine. And we were really struggling with it. We got to the point where we were able to give them a beta test site. You know what a beta site is? It's what where you haven't worked all the bugs out, but it's good enough that you can put it out in the market and let your customers help debug it for you. They claim that that's what Microsoft does. Always have something that's got a few kinks in it, and you help them figure it out. So we had it where we could do a beta site, and what they would do is for $5 they could run a subroutine through there, and it would do almost 100% job of converting the subroutine from GE to IBM. And so we let them do that, and we finally got to the point where we thought we could release it as a regular item and not as a beta test site. And so we went back to renegotiate the price because they were going to get more value out of it. They could run it more smoothly and it was more reliable. And they said, why would we want to do that? We could get this. I wanted to get a $10 price for each execution. And they said, no, we'll give you the $5. We're perfectly fine with that. But we're not going to give you 10. And I got very stiff-necked about it. And I said, I won't sell it for less than 5. And so they walked away from it. And this was a cherry account, man. That was the one you wanted to get. Now, was I stupid? Because you know what happened? The company shut down. Not Hughes Aircraft, but the company I was working for.
I mean, it's good that you stick with your guns, I feel like, but you're saying the company you were selling for, they shut down?
The company I was selling for what?
You said that they shut down?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was not only selling for it, I was an officer in it. So I was willing to drop down on top of the hand grenade. Was I stupid? Now, don't all respond at once. But was I stupid to do that? If I had to do it over again, you know what? I'd do the same thing again. But you know what? I think I was wrong. And I would be wrong the second time just as well. So what should they do? Should they push for the lease or push for the sale? How far will you push the buyer in one direction or the other before you give up and give them what they want?
I push them until they did the subscription. And if we lost them, then we lost them. I mean, I wouldn't want to deviate from our strategy.
Okay, so you would be willing to walk the plank or fall on the hand grenade as well, huh?
Yes.
Okay, so and you're going to have that not have that opportunity while you were in this class, but as you go through your career, you're going to be faced with things that are going to have the same kind of consequence. And I think it's important that we know where we stand, that we're capable of making that decision when the time is right to do it. I want to tell you here that another selling thing, Jessica, because again, you had the courage to open your mouth and say something. But in selling, when you ask for the order, one thing you have to do is to shut your mouth and wait it out. So I'm perfectly fine to sit here for the rest of the hour without saying a word, because this is your class and you've got to take you've got to create the buzz, the activity. And that's the way it's going to be. We've got 4 more case studies. And in each one of those, I'm going to be expecting you to lead the class. I may also be expecting it because much more of our class time is going to be conversational rather than me just lecturing. But I remember a fellow telling me when he was selling, and he had been selling for IBM, and they asked the president of the company that they were trying to sell to have him sign the order. And then they shut up, and then they sat in silence for 2 hours before the president of that company caved in and signed the order. So I'm perfectly willing to stay for the rest of the hour with you, but I'd like to get your opinion backed up by, I think we had some good arguments here right along, but I'd like to hear more arguments from you.
I also agree with what everyone's saying that they should move to like the subscription model. I feel like this article brought about like a lot of points as to why they should. It seems like Lumiscape, it really irritates them that when cities don't use their product properly. So the reason they brought this subscription plan was to avoid that, so that the cities can use them. With the subscription model, they'd be able to help them install it and provide any maintenance with it.
Okay, so you've got a situation here, among other things, that customers are looking to see what kind of success they had, and they've used Houston as one of their big buyers as a where they would be able to say, well, you know, we did sell to Houston, and this is on the 1,000 units that they'd sold previously. But you also got the other side of the problem. If they don't use it right, do you think if somebody called for a recommendation that they would say, this stuff is no good? Because
Also,
go ahead.
also, I read that it took them quite a while for them to install the first order that they made, which was 1,000, and it took them, I want to say, at least more than a year for them to install those lights.
They really never got them all installed.
Yeah, exactly.
Some in the boneyard, and that often happens. And I guess the question to ask you is, do we have to? Can we sell something to someone and let them choose how to use it, even if it's not as it was designed, not for the use it was expected?
I don't think so, because as a company, like you said, if people come and see that they're not being used properly, it's not going to make a great recommendation towards the company.
And over the long term, if you were looking back to that original 1,000 units that were sold, what would you have done differently from what you saw in the case to your position?
I'd probably jump on the maintenance strategy pretty quick, because like I said, it feels like it really irritated them really strong that they weren't using it properly. So us being able to provide that maintenance or installation even would probably go a long way.
Okay, now there was some discussion about what they call soft dollar benefits. And I don't know if you didn't see it, I could tell you what it was.
Yeah, could you please?
Yeah, this is about how we're going to make the park safer at night, how we're going to avoid lawsuits when somebody walks through the dark and stumbles and busts open their head, or when someone gets mugged because there's a burned out light. And that's, you know, those things, those are what you're trying to convey. You want that customer to feel the reality of that. And you think that's easy or hard to sell that way?
So those are like the benefits that somebody would get by purchasing the product without you as the seller making money off of it, right?
Say it one more time again. I don't have my miracle here in today.
So those would be like the benefits that a buyer would get based off of your product that won't necessarily cost them, more money. It'll just be like peace of mind type of things.
Yeah, this is a hard way to go. I've been intrigued. There's a company called Nebbia, and I happened to bump into them when I was doing something on some research for crowdsourcing. And they had set up a crowdsource Kickstarter campaign to raise money. And what it is a kind of a shower that instead of spraying water on you, it atomizes the water. So you end up like you're standing in, like you are when you go out into the desert, into Palm Springs, and they've got an aerator that sprays water that evaporates before it gets to your body. It was that kind of a thing. And where was I going to go with that? I had a reason for saying that. And I gotta back up to you, Andres. It was about the soft dollar benefits. That's what it was. That they said it'll save you like 30% of the water you use in a regular shower. And that to me is so ephemeral that I can't get excited about that. I want to have be sprayed with this real fine mist, but I don't want to be I don't care whether I spend an extra 2 gallons of water per shower or not. So how do you get those soft dollar kinds of things across to the buyer?
Well, I mean, it would depend on the product, but I would just, really reiterate that, you're buying the product, of course, but there's also added benefits to it. So like if, you're buying a computer, let's say, of course you're buying it for, probably schoolwork, but you also can, literally do anything on a computer nowadays. So there's other benefits to just, the initial thing that you're buying it for.
Yeah, you've got to romance it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I don't really like to speak. But I feel like it kind of goes back to towards the end of the chapter where it kind of comes down to like you're not selling the equipment, you're selling the whole idea of a safer park.
Yeah.
It's like you said, you have to romanticize that idea, and like even though it might seem very, very easy, especially like with I used to work in a city, so I know it's very easy for like when it comes to budgets to just throw money at some product or equipment, so it doesn't get cut the following year. So for the city, it's really attractive to just not buy the subscription, just buy the streetlights themselves. But he needs to kind of stick by his own business model that he kind of created himself. Like he's not selling streetlights. If he wanted to sell streetlights, he wouldn't even create this whole subscription idea or the idea of a safer park. He could sell the streetlights to businesses and business parks and companies for their own protection. But the whole idea of his company and his business model is the safer park idea. And that comes along with the subscription, not just the streetlights themselves.
Yeah, I think the benefits are solid, but now let's look at the other side. They've got to apparently have a budget authorization memo for the configuration that they're trying to sell. Have any of you tried to, or have any of you worked for companies where you tried to sell the government? Because when you do, they have to check everything out. My son-in-law is here in my house, and he's selling a computer service, and I don't exactly understand how it works, but it's it's for transaction processing. And he's had this big pumpkin out there that he's been trying to close. And he had some lady who was reading all of the every word and every document that they had and arguing out every point along the way. And it finally got down to where one of the letters, alphabetic letters, was a different size than the other letters in the document, and wanted to get that changed before they would go ahead with the order. Really down in the penny ante stuff. But you run into that a lot of times in large organizations. And you've got to have the stamina to stick in there, even when you want to go outside and scream because it's so stupid that someone would be hung up on that. Well, how would you report your position to the board of directors? doesn't tell you whether this is a public company or not, but it does tell you that they are looking to get their next round of financing.
I think as far as like integrity, even though you might want to make that money, because I mean, that is a lot of money, it's like $3 million. Like I agree with Ezekiel that it's easy to say, I want to make a quick buck and I just want to sell this. I want to make the money versus, you know what, I really care about my product and I want it to look a certain way. And even though now, like you said, I don't know if it's a public company, but they, you know, everybody like in stocks wants to make their money. But then think about it. What if, yes, it goes up because, you know, now they sold this like so many units, but then down the course in the long run, it's going to go down because it's not a successful product. It's not a good product. They're not using it to its best ability. Sales are going to stop. Sales are going to slow down. So you're thinking short term or are you thinking long term?
Okay, so you end up querying the market by compromising the strategy when you've spent all the time putting it together.
Yeah, and I would stick to the subscription strategy only because it just makes more sense. Like I wouldn't, like what you're offering is not just a product, you're offering care. Like, you know what, like I really care about this product. I care about my company. And I'm offering you more than just benefits. I'm offering more than just a product. Like this means something to our company and we want to stick to that. It's kind of like, I guess, like our mission statement, our core, like how you want to talk about core values next week, our, you know, morals as a company and what we stand for. It's not just about money.
Yeah, and you know, this is relatively simple as compared to some of the challenges you'll be facing. And right now, if you go out into industry, I am very frustrated with what I see because I see the executives of these companies rolling over and playing dead because of cancel culture and other things like that. I can't imagine Dr. Seuss being a racist or why anyone would waste their time even thinking about that. But there are libraries and cities, and even the president today, he refused, or he chose not to mention Dr. Seuss for Reading Day. And I presume everyone is aware of this, what is going on in that respect. But somebody has decided that the way Dr. Seuss presented his material, that there were racial overtones and that it should be dropped. And you're just seeing this all the time, and big company operators are acquiescing to it. And I hate it. And we're going to be pretty close to the end of that, I think. I think people are going to finally say, well, hold on, this is enough. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, read the newspapers, watch the news on TV, whichever brand of news you like to hear. Any other thoughts on this case?
I think it kind of goes back to the whole idea of like you have to negotiate whether or not like it kind of tears you apart as like say when you put yourself in the shoes of the like being in this company, like it kind of tears you apart. Like, do I want to make the money or do I want to stick to my business model? And it kind of just reiterates the idea to us that we need to find a mixture of both, and like we have to find the best solution. We have to find a way where we can get these 5,000 streetlights in these parks and get that money in our bank so we can have the financing that we need as a company. But we also need to do it like I think it mentions it in the article, like in this term, it says it in our terms, not necessarily what the seller wants, I mean what the buyer wants at all times. Because like we're consumers too. So whenever we buy something, obviously we'd want the cheapest price and the best quality. And we want to buy like a subscription without all the other stuff. And we wish that would bring our price down, but it doesn't always work like that. So we have to do like we have to force the buyer into making the decisions and realizing that, yeah, I need to buy the full package, not just the equipment itself.
Substitute the word persuade
Pers-
for force.
yeah.
That's what we do have to do.
And then going back to the whole Dr. Seuss thing, I mean, like if I was to play devil's advocate in that situation, which I don't, I feel like in the business perspective, like yes, there's gonna be a like a certain limit to it, but they also have to read them. Like they have to, like, I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say it. Like they have to read the room, if that makes any sense. And especially this past year, these last past years with everything that's been going on, they're simply reading their room and trying and like kind of save face, or I don't know what they're trying to do, bring recognition back to their brand. So I mean, it could be a good move or a bad move, but either way, I feel it's all they're just doing. They're just reading the room.
Ezekiel, you said the magic word that it could be a good move or it could be a bad move. And actually, there's no right answer in this case. And there won't be, and most of the things that you run into in a business situation, there'll always be two sides. I can't tell you how frequently I've been in an executive office where I was the executive and somebody came in and said, I'd like to do this. And it seemed like a perfectly good idea. And so I said, okay, go ahead and do it. And no sooner did that person walk out the door than somebody comes in and takes exactly the opposite opinion. And you have to constantly be balancing to make sure that you keep everybody kind of happy, but of course, make yourself happy the most because you're the guy that is the person that's ultimately responsible.
Professor
Yeah.
or Bill.
Yes.
So kind of like piggyback off what you said, where you said like you have to kind of make everybody happy. I do agree somewhat, because I do understand like you do have to be diplomatic, but also, for instance, if we're going to tie it back to the case study, I think the main character, Cameron, he was truly passionate about his product and like ultimately changing the world. And I don't feel like what I would do, I would like stick to my guns and still offer the subscription plan and just basically give those reasons as to why I truly believe in this product. And this is what our brand is fully like aware of, or is what our brand is truly all about. And for instance, like Nike, back in the day when Colin Kaepernick took the knee, and the NFL basically took him out, Nike made him like the face of like their football brand. And the very next day, like their stocks dropped, but a week later, like their stocks blew up. So it just shows that you don't necessarily have to appease everyone. You just have to kind of like show what your brand's all about.
That's good. I think you're absolutely right. And it's a very strong point. Very strong point. And I'm going to mark that down. In fact, I think you've had some very good arguments today.
Thank you.
But this does take courage to do this. And as I've said to you, one of my failures was in business, in the positions I was in, was the failure to assign somebody unique responsibility for a particular activity. And I also, you wouldn't make everybody happy. I've got to take a position and stick with it. So thank you for reminding me of one of my character flaws that I have to work on. Love to make everybody happy in this class and give you all A's, but I'm gonna dig my heels in. You won't all get A's. So try and get those that are given out. Well, that ends up our time today. I am a little disappointed. I like the conversation that we had, but I would like to have more people involved. I have a suspicion that a lot of you were not involved because you hadn't read the material. Now I'm going to be watching for how much activity there is in the game, and I can point to some figures that I'm not going to do, and individuals that are here in this Zoom room that don't have very much going for them so far in the game, and I want to see that changed. I want you to learn. You will learn if you read all those reports and really apply them in making the decisions that you're going to be making. This is the time to do it. This is late in the game. You already had the two first round, the two trial decisions. We're now back to ground zero. Okay? And your decision is tonight, right? And I'm going to eliminate the teams that are bogus teams if there's nobody in. So it'll be a smaller field that you're playing on. Any other questions or things that you want to say?
Bill, quick question.
Yeah.
I know you were going to post the assignment for the core values. When is that going to be due? I'm sorry.
It's Thursday night. This isn't, I don't want to have you write these down over the next 5 minutes, but I want you to think a little bit about it, but you can do it by then. And that way it will, and I just really want to have you be thinking about it. And then I've got some proof that you did. So I've got to get that thing set up. I have a real hard time using some of the features of Blackboard. And this is really straightforward, but it's always tough for me.
Always. Thanks, Bill.
Okay. And so what we'll do, I'm going to give you a lot of stuff on core values. It's a real hot item. That's a hot issue for me. It's the foundation of any good strategy, in my opinion. It's a foundation for a good life too. Okay. Jordy, you agree with that?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. And I'm going to show you one of my favorite films next time. It's 42. LC 42. About Jackie Robinson. Number 42. Great movie. But it'll have a point about core values that you'll see. So see you Thursday. And I'll get this out so that you have a place to put your answers. And all I'm looking for, Jessica, is just short little phrases. This is more for you than it is for me. But you must have grounding in your beliefs. So go home.
Thank you, Bill.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it, man.
Okay.
Bill, I have a question for you.
Yes.